Welcome to the Revenue Marketing Report powered by Caliber Mind. I'm your host, Camela Thompson, and today I'm joined by Vahbiz Cooper. Vahbiz, welcome back. I am so excited to talk about this topic, and we're going to be talking about the modern approach to product launches. We've already covered a little bit how you should be consistent in your social strategy and not just use social media when you have a product launch, but when you have one, what are the different tactics we should be using today to get it out there?
So firstly, I think utilize your influencers, especially people who've worked with you in the past. So that is definitely one really, really good strategy. They already know about your brand. They already know your existing products. They know your tone. They know everything. So utilize them for sure, 100%. The other thing where I see companies, not utilizing this so much is utilize your existing customers because they already know your product, and you can give, like, if you're having a new product, you can give them like a free trial run, or, if they want to integrate it into like some of the existing softwares, you can help them do that. And you already have a customer success story ready before your product is already out there. And you can fix all the glitches, etc., when you are like beta testing that with your existing customers versus searching for new people like, hey, can you test this? Can you test that? Also, what I feel sometimes it becomes really hard for product developers to incorporate each and every single change. It's just not feasible sometimes. But when you're launching the product, like, are you speaking about those difficulties, I should say, or like those challenges as well? Because obviously you want to have like a goody show about your product, but you have to be realistic and say like, hey, you know what? This is something new that we've come up with, and would you be interested in trying this, or would you be interested in giving us some feedback about it? And what do you think? And like, until all of that is done on the back end, then you're like ready for like the proper hard launch. You can like obviously keep doing softer launches with a limited number of people at different stages. But once all of that is done and ready, and that it's the product now, you can utilize your influencers and actually bring it out live to the world.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the steps you can do for a feature that maybe isn't prime time ready, because I think that's the elephant in the room is so many times marketers are pressured by executives to start talking about a feature well in advance of its scheduled release date. And that release date just kind of keeps moving out there, and you get kind of caught in this situation of, ooh, we've been talking about this a long time and it's still not ready. So have you been in the position where you've had to manage those executive expectations and talk through, this could, if we don't do a soft launch and follow these steps, it could put us in a weird position as a company?
Yeah. I mean, definitely not here at Demandbase. Luckily, nothing
Of
like that.
course not. We'll keep it anonymous.
Oh yeah, no, but in one of my previous organizations, there was a product that was launched without market research. And it was so the owner was really, really pushy about it, and it was just done in a really haphazard way. It was just like, hey, this is the product, this is what we want to charge, and go out there and make a sale. And with super tight budget, it was COVID at that time, so like with super tight budgets, you just made a product, and there are like so many reasonable, and when I say reasonable, it means like as good as free alternatives. So why would somebody pay X amount of rupees or like dollars to buy your product? So sometimes it's like you're selling something that makes no sense just because you had like a random idea one day during dinner. And that entire pressure is on the rest of the team.
Oof.
And that's when the entire, the HR aspects of like the morale and, uh, quiet firing and all of that comes into place. And product launches are hard.
Mhm.
They're not something that just comes out like, oh, hey, we made this and we know this is going to do well. Unless the only time I have seen that, just striking is when it's a fresh product. You have as good as no competitors, like the red ocean versus the blue ocean strategy,
Mhm.
then okay, you're like good. But I mean, in the market that we are today, there's nothing known as the blue ocean anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you, within a month, you're going to have like somebody sitting in some other country making it or your neighbor making it. So it's like you have to do complete and thorough research, and you have to know what your USP is. When it comes to making products, I mean, I'm sure this is also for like softwares, but when your product is like a product,
Mhm.
people, and I've seen this happening so many times, they wait for the patents to come out and
Mm.
they're like, then they do like the launch. I think that is like super smart, because sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? We already have like a patent that's rolling out, it's trademarked and they already launch it. And then, you get like that legal battles that are thrown at you. Like, no, we already have this, or this is something that you've copied. Maybe it's not like you wanted to copy that. It was just like the same thing, but it's patented, so you can't do it.
Mhm.
So yeah, people sometimes just want to be like super pushy, and they don't like, wait for all the patents to come through or like for them to get approved. That's happened in a couple of organizations that I've worked with in the past, and it was a mess to
Yeah.
clear all of that up. So
Yeah. And I think what I'm hearing hints of, and I've seen this too, is sometimes we're not in a position of control and we can only voice so much.
yeah,
And then it's our job to just follow the leader. And that's hard, especially
yeah.
when it happens like more than once in the same company. Then it gets really frustrating because you hope if it happens once, we learn and we adjust. And maybe we listen to the person who is objecting to it the whole time.
Yep. Yep. No, for sure, because sometimes it's like it's like the alternative is right there on your face, and why are you spending all of those resources on making something that you won't be able to launch at that price?
Yeah. Oh, it's tough. So when we're talking about market research, let's talk about when marketing should get involved in the product production cycle. I love this.
Oh wow. My personal opinion is right from the start.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
Plus one.
For sure. Because, sometimes it's like people say, oh, we want like marketing orchestration, sales orchestration, and they're like good, fancy words. But what is the ground level reality is what is going to, make or break your product. Because, there's this saying from one of the sharks in Shark Tank India, and that really hit me. And she went like, thousands of people have ideas, the problem is in the execution, and if you
Mm,
don't execute it, that then it's like nothing, your company is gonna, crash down, or your product's not gonna do well. And that is so true, because sales will say like, hey, this is the complaints that I've been hearing, or the pricing is the problem. And sometimes it's just a very small aspect that can just get fixed by marketing. And the company like Tata, when they launched the Nano, they made such a huge marketing mistake. It's a classic case study where they call the car cheap versus economical.
oh
That,
yeah. Ooh.
yeah, yeah, it was like, it was, I mean, sometimes it's just those small things that is just going to break the whole thing down.
Mhm.
And know. I mean, nobody would ever know if that's true or not. But since it's like out there in the open and they're like case studies after case studies on these words, that's what the people are going to believe. Because if marketing is involved from the start, then they would know like, okay, this is the words that we need to capture on, or this is the feature that we need to promote. And sometimes those things can, if it's marketed well, the negative aspects of a product would kind of just like, wash away. It wouldn't be out there in the front.
Mhm.
And of course, you need to work on them, like, at the back end. But yeah, it's like a good marketer would know what to highlight, what to hide. And sometimes it's like sales is, just trying to crack that deal. And they're like, no, this is the USP, this is the USP. But if you look at it from another angles, like, is this really the USP? Is this something that we need to promote? Is XYZ competitor also promoting on similar lines? So why don't we shift the focus and use other words, or, use something else in that product to promote it?
Right. And I think that also speaks to figuring out your ideal customer profile, unacceptable and acceptable. So when you know your product has limitations that's going to particularly impact certain use cases,
Yep.
maybe don't push it in those circumstances, and train your sales team how to talk through that and be honest about it in a way that, isn't bashing the company, but hey, in this specific use case, this may not be the best solution for you. And I guarantee you customers prefer that every day over, oh no, we can do that, and then not.
Yep. We worked with a company where it happened, and we were like, when are you going to give it to us? When are you going to give it to us? And
Mhm.
I mean, something that should have not taken more than a month to like finish off and do it took us like 6 months to get it done, because they did not have those expertise. And we kind of had to figure that out the hard way, like,
Mm.
what, this is not working out. And that's really bad. And we just wanted to get done with it and just close the deal and finish the contract. And it wasn't a good experience for us, and I'm sure it wasn't for them either.
Yeah, yeah. So the best product, well, let's step back a little bit. So you mentioned people having ideas in the shower or the dinner table. When you have a mature product, I think there are different ways we should go about figuring out what the next feature is. I've seen customer advisory boards, and then you mentioned market research, so actually talking to prospects too, because they're not as familiar with what you already have. And then what are some other ways or teams that we can leverage when it comes to figuring out what's next?
I think communities are super underutilized.
Oh, love it.
Dark
Yes.
social, the amount of good and honest reviews that you will find on like Reddit or like random other communities, or even like some good communities, is so underutilized. People do not go and check those, and I really don't know why. I mean, having a customer community is good. I mean, you are like the one point contact,
Mhm.
but sometimes when the same people would go out on Reddit or would go out on like XYZ website and write the complete opposite.
Amen.
Um, yeah.
Mm.
And it's like sometimes you just have to deal with it, and sometimes they are actually writing the truth, because you've used that product, and you know that you face the exact same difficulty.
Mhm.
So going in there, you can go there in as the company, or like an anonymous person, and putting that fire out, or saying like, hey, you know what, I know that they're already working on it, or I'm like a beta tester, they're working on it, XYZ. Just you know uh, neutralizing that problem is really, really, really helpful.
Yeah,
And
and you have to be
yeah,
careful because some of these communities have very stringent rules for good reason. But like you said, if you notice a customer is already in there, and you know that they know that what they said is the opposite of true. In those cases, I think it's totally appropriate to say, hey, I noticed you're part of this community and I saw this comment. Would you be willing to, do a rebuttal,
Yep, for sure, for sure. And it's hard sometimes, I mean,
Mhm. Especially when it's
facing
the
that.
truth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, like I know this, but like how do and I mean, when I was relatively new in one of my organizations, it was like, how do I politely say, like, I hear you, I'm facing the same thing, but we're in the same boat together,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's critical where you have to be honest, but at the same time, like defend the product.
Yep.
It's like a sticky spot, but eh,
Yeah. Yeah. We've had, and I'm not going to name the client, but we've had instances where people were unhappy with one aspect of the product, and we had customers step in without asking, fortunately, and saying, yeah, you're right. This is a bit of a shortcoming, but here are the areas I use it for that are really helpful. And that's great. It gives us information on where we need to improve something, but it also showcases that there are some things that are really valuable here. So if your product is technical, exactly what you're saying, they buy through network. And sometimes
yep,
that network's the community. So you are just so spot on. I just wanted to,
yep.
yes, yes, indeed. Is there anything else you would like to tell our listeners before we tell you where they can find you to network? Tell
Oh yeah,
them.
only thing is, sometimes marketing is not easy and it's okay. Sometimes you're not gonna get those creative ideas, and that's okay. Just don't feel like stuck, or feel like, oh, you know what, I can't do this. Please go and talk to, like, your managers. Don't ever feel like your ideas are stupid, or they're not doable. Sometimes the most wackiest of ideas have got us the best of results. So please don't feel shy, or take a back seat and be like, no, I think people are going to make fun of me, because yeah, that's not going to get you anywhere. And yeah, please feel free to talk to as many people as you can, because knowledge is something that you are never going to be bored of, or you're never going to have enough of. Like, I still learn so much till this day. And yep, algorithms are crazy. Don't chase after them.
Yeah. Yeah. Except for consistency. That one you have to do.
Yep. Yes. Yes, for sure. For sure.
I love it. And then also we got to give a shout out to some communities. I think we met through, was it Demand or Women in Revenue? I think it was Demand, but there are some
Yes.
fabulous communities out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Rev Genius is my favorite go-to. And yeah, there are a lot of other good ones. We have like Women in Sales. Sendoso has their own. There's Apollo, and Pavilion. Pavilion is a good
Oh, that's a
one.
good one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I'm on so many communities. I should probably- Oh, Slack has their own community, and they're really, really, really good. I get a lot of insights from them. And yeah, there's analytics for marketers. Chris is really good over there. Hi, Chris. And yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
Chris is good over there.
I love it. So where can people find you to network other than all of these communities?
Yeah, LinkedIn is my go-to, and feel free anytime to like drop in a mail. It's vcooper@demandbase.com. So happy to answer your questions there. Do not use exclamation marks in your subject lines while reaching out to me. It will end up in spam and I will not see it.
Good tip. Good tip. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. I know I got a bunch of ideas. I hope the listeners do too. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Revenue Marketing Report. Please tell 2 friends, subscribe, download, whatever you can helps. And for those of you looking for more great content like this, check out caliberbuying.com.